teams because we were Coshocton, right, where I'm from, which is an old Indian word, Coshocton. But so to spell that word is kind of hard, and to spell it in a chant is probably even harder. But yet, our cheerleaders made up this awesome chant of COS with an H, HOC with a T, TON with COS and HOC, TON with COS, HOC, TON. Coshocton. COS with an H, HOC with a T, TON with a COS with an HOC, TON with a COS, HOC, TON.
There's a Kilborn word.
Is there? Did you spell Kilborn or what?
Yeah. K-I with a B. B-O-U-N-R. R-N-E with a K-I with a B-O-U-N-R-N-E. K-I-L-B-U.
I love it. I didn't know that existed. Sweet, thank you for letting me know. So these are replacements for your plus minus tiles if you want. If you are a visual color-based person, my eyes like seeing red as negative and white as positive if we, replace the plus and minuses. But if you want, you can still continue to use your plus minuses. There is one more bag up here. Anybody want these and didn't get them? Toby, do you have something to work with, either red, whites, or plus minuses? What do you want, plus minuses or red, whites?
Plus minus.
Okay, so what do you get if you divide the circumference of a pumpkin by its diameter? Anybody? Pumpkin pie. 3, 2, 1 is today. Yep, 3, 2, 1 is today. Take a bag of these. They're just as good. I like these even better, actually.
I don't like pumpkin pie.
Whoa. Okay, you can just go ahead and leave. Oh, they're over there. I put them over there for you, so you can just grab one. And there's Sharpies right over here. So, actually, you could probably put these slips over here, too. Excuse me. So, you decide where you want to use these, if you can put them there or whatever. Then you can grab any of those Sharpies, whatever color you want. And thank you so much. Alright, so bring it back. Alright, so one thing, I need to try to not be as loud as I normally am, which is really hard for me because Mrs. Cullinan is doing like mindfulness at the beginning of her class. So May already did that, who knows. But I need to try to not be so loud. So today we're dealing with subtraction, which we've talked about and we've seen that PBS math video. Right, we watched the video about the matrix.
No.
And how subtraction is a lie.
No.
Okay, well by the end of class we will, again going back to the whole, I forget what I've done with what people because there's a lot of you. Like 3 different classes, that's my only issue. Now before we dive into subtraction of integers, we need to remind ourselves what integers are. What is an integer versus just any old number? So on your paper, write the word integer, because I bet at least half of you couldn't tell me what's the difference between a number being an integer versus the number being just a number. Integers. I have a lot of pens in a lot of places, but I can't keep track of it. Anyone know? I'll be impressed, because we haven't talked about it a ton yet. Underline the int. Integers are entire, underline the int. This is the easiest way we can define it. Entire values. Which really just means no partials. So integers can be positive or negative, but they cannot have a decimal or a fraction value out. So they can't have a decimal, like tenths, hundredths. They can't have a value that needs represented in the decimal places. Integers are entire values, and that's what we're working with today, which is why you have your plus minus tiles or the red whites, because we don't need any partials. We're going to use all whole amounts of tiles, and we'll actually probably just call them the all tiles. So whether you're working with whites and reds or whether you're working with the plus minuses, that's up to you and what's visually easiest for you. This is on your paper, right? This is on your blue sheet, so you don't need to write this down. You do need to be looking at your blue sheet though for today. I said, well, I forget if I said it yesterday. If I didn't say it yesterday, always look when you get this. If it says examples from class, keep it out. If it says examples from class, like me trying to be nice so you don't have to write so much down, keep it out. Why didn't you get one of those when the start slide said get one? Oh, but it was number 2. We didn't even make it to number 2. All right, so if we examine what we have over here, what happens if I group, now don't do this, but what happens if I group a positive and a negative? I make a 0, right? But they ask us, what happens if 3 positive tiles are removed? Now before we do this, let's figure out what in the world are we working with. If we group the zeros, please don't circle them because we're going to circle some other stuff. If we group the zeros, we got a 0 there, a 0 there, a 0 there, 0 there. What do we really have from this set of tiles? Not negative, well, kind of. So why, Araya, did you just say -6?
Because I counted all of the negative signs and there's your answer.
We do have -6, but then we also have, Nikki? +4, so together, and a couple people already said this, when I make zeros, we have, anybody? -2. Now, this is where people get confused. So, pause for just a minute. I want to take 3 away from a -2. I have -2. And I want to take 3 positives away. Could I? Sorry, I'm going to borrow some of these. Yeah, you can't really say no. So I like how you said okay, though. Yeah, sure, I guess. If you only have -2, can you take 3 positives away from that? Not right here. I can't physically take 3 positives. But if we have some extra zeros, do I still have -2? Yeah. Do I still have -2? Yeah. Do I still have -2? Yeah. And now, my camera won't stay where I want it. Now, can I take away 3 positives? Yeah. So now when we take away 3 positives, what do we have? -5. So on our paper, what we want to write is -2 minus 3 is the same really as -2 add in 3 negative tiles, right? Because in the end, we just ended up with 3 extra negative tiles because we brought in zeros and then took out the positives. So subtraction often can't actually happen, right? What we just saw, I couldn't, quote unquote, I couldn't take away 3, but I could add in 3 negatives, and in the end, I can have 5 positives. Sorry, 5 negatives. Yeah, that's A. So if we go back to the original setup, right, to talk about B, go back to your original setup here. What was this again? We said its value is -2. Can we remove 3 negatives? So if I go back to here, I can't remove 3 negatives right now. But if I go back to the original, right, we had boom, 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 boom. We had 4 of these. We had 6 of these. Can I, from here, remove 3 negatives? Yeah. So on your paper, we're gonna remove those in a second. But on your paper, write -2 minus -3. We have -2. We're going to take away -3. Now, when we take away those 3 negatives, what does taking away a bad guy do to our situation? Toby? Yeah, it makes it more positive, right? Taking away bad guys. So this, we could also look at -2 plus 3, really? Because now what were zeros, the plus minus pairs that were zeros, now only have the positives. We took away the negative pieces, and in the end, we end up with a value of +1. So this is what we're going to practice today, using those plus minus tiles. Any questions on what we just did and how we looked at, like, we couldn't technically do it if we only started with -2, but since we start with -2 and some extra zeros, right, all of these are zeros, then we can do those things. Now, where the red-white tiles come into play, actually, I'm not going to do it up here. Sorry about the glare. I don't know why it's so bright over here today. Actually, it might be because of the black under it. Hold on a second. What's the value of my positive negatives right now? 0, right? Because they're equal to each other. To make this represent what we have over here as -2, we had 4 positives. Right, okay, they had 4 positives. And they had 6 negatives. Crap, I need another negative. Oh, somebody, I think, stole a set of mine. If you only have 1 stack of these, you don't have a full set, and you won't have enough. So 6 negatives. Here's another way we can visualize this. What's my value? -2, right? Because this is good guys, bad guys. They fight each other. Who's taller? Who wins? The negative by 2. So if you're using the red-white manipulatives, that's how we look at it that way. We pair them up, say how many to be 0, what do we have left over? Boom, -2. Any questions on this? So check out ABC here. You can use your tiles to model on your desk. You can write things down on your graph paper. We are pretty much moved on from the blue paper. Okay. So the stuff that we wrote up there could hypothetically be on your blue paper, but it's okay if you didn't. But now this stuff needs to go on our graph paper. Well, yes, I mean, if A, so let me help you with A, because some of you, I guess, might look at this and be like, wait, what? What do we have here? 8, and this is 0. So we have 8, right? What does this represent? Well, it's 8. What is happening?
The 2 negatives are being removed, so that means we have 10.
Well, 8, what do we write here then? -2. Yeah, because as Eric said, 2 negative tiles are being removed. So what we write, what should go on your paper is 8 minus -2 actually really increases our value by 2 because these positives get left with no pair. So that's why I make it +2 actually, and your final value, as Eric already told us, is 10. The other thing, if you just want to remember a trick, minus negative, when they're right next to each other or a parenthesis in between doesn't matter, minus a negative, make a positive. So that's like the trick you can remember. Solve B and C with your partner key cells. Is there a snack on that?
It's because if I don't, Kobe takes it every day and it makes me upset, and
So tell him not to, and if he does it, I'll lay the smack down. Or I mean, I will make him
But
stop.
it's always in global culture.
Hey Toby, stop taking things that aren't yours.
Oh.
If I hear it happens again, we're just gonna call your parents and deal with it that way. And they can bring in snacks to replace Meredith's snacks. Not okay. What you should be saying is sorry, Meredith. If I started with -8, like 8 negative tiles, could we remove 3 negatives? Yeah, we actually could do that there. Because if we start with -8, 1, 2, 3, oh, that's a highlighter. That's not helping anything. What just happened? Oh, I went back. It thought I wanted to go back a page. If I started with -8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, I could grab 3 negatives and remove them from the situation. So that really becomes -8 plus 3, really. But I don't have to rewrite it like that if I can just think it through. What do I have left over, Eric?
-5.
-5. Any questions on B?
But you just said that when you subtract 2 negatives, it gives you a positive.
Not it gives you a positive, it becomes positive. So this plus 3. Not so guys, I want to make sure that other people didn't mishear me. Not that Lily's misunderstanding, it's just like what I said came across wrong. Minus a negative makes the number after the minus the negative. So this whole little section here, minus the negative, that becomes positive. Not your answer. Well, it might, your answer might come out positive, but it just as easily might come out negative. It all depends on who wins now. Because we make it plus, because then they can just battle. They can just say, okay, good guys, bad guys, who wins? Now, pretty soon, we will be getting into winter, and Ohio winters recently have been very unpredictable. But one thing you can pretty much count on is we'll go below 0 at some point.
Yeah.
Right? Which is ironic that we have 0, which is supposed to mean like, as low as you can go. Nope, we're going lower. It's getting colder. So the first time I looked at the thermometer today, it said it was 0 degrees. Does
that mean we should be in
Then it went down by 5 degrees. So when we write that, we start at 0. But then what do we write? What do we write after the 0? Bella, what do you think?
What do I write after the 0?
Yeah, how do I represent this? Wouldn't what?
I don't know how to represent it.
What's the answer? Where are we going to end up?
Plus and a negative, I guess.
Ooh, so we could say plus a -5, or we could just as easily say 0 minus 5. Now this technically can't happen, right? If I start with nothing and take something away, remember we can represent nothing with a lot of somethings, as long as the positive and the negative somethings equal. So this is a bag of nothing. Right? It's the positives and the negatives equal. This bag contains nothing. But I could take 5 away from my bag of nothing. 5 taken away. And now my bag is -5. Right? So our temperature, we shouldn't be at school, is now -5 degrees.
Wait, how cold is it, guys?
Actually, we might come to school if it's -5. At like negative like 20.
Yeah, I think it's 20.
They would keep us home.
Sometimes it's 15. I think it happens when you're older.
All right, try these 6 problems as I walk around the room. I should see A, B, C, D, E, F written on your paper as you get to them. Everybody should be doing this. Nobody should be sketching. Just got this. Yes, it is all wind chill. It is 100% just wind chill.
Is this 7 minus 5 versus 7?
It is what you see.
Okay.
7 minus 5. Or we can write it other ways. That creeps me out 'cause it looks like a snake. I don't really like snakes.
Oh, it's just minus
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. A, B, C, D.
What does it mean as result?
Mr. Austin, so you don't like saying
What's the answer?
Yeah, don't worry about like it kind of wants us to like draw these things out using tiles and things like that. Now, if you want to use your tiles or your red, white, these are actually called reckon rods. Not Wreck-It Ralph, but Reckon rods, and the bags say it. So from now on, I'll probably just call these reckon rods. But if you're using a reckon rod, if we have 7, right, I have to make 7. Can I take away 5? Well, yeah, okay. Take away 5. You got to make the sound effect. So if I take away 5, I have 2 left over, right? So A, hopefully we've all gotten to that. Once we write that down and solve it, is 2. We can do that. But B gets tougher because I need to start with nothing. Well, here's a stack of nothing, right? So keep working, keep writing these things down, finding the final values. Also, just like that, these are stackable. You're solving these problems, not finding the values.
Yeah. It was really great. I feel tired. I know. I just have that in my day today. Oh, I didn't get it.
Oh yeah, I played a bunch of Fortnite that week.
Is it good? I don't think it's that
That's one thing.
It was like one of my first anime. Oh. It's just that it's
Not right now, but it is.
Does it get better near the end? Yeah. Does it get better near the end?
But yeah, just the third day, like snowed 5 inches.
So that was -6 go down to C is not -4.
What?
C is not -4. Now B as in boy, B as in day,
What the?
B is -4.
Oh.
If we're at 0 degrees, if we have 0 and we take away 4, I now have 4 extra negatives. But if we start with -6, right? This is -6. I cannot take 2 away from this because that's -2. I can't do it right now. However, if I grab a 0, right, now I've got -6 and a 0 set. I could take 2 away from that 0 set. How many extra negatives did I just pick up? 2. So this is the same as saying -6 plus -2. My firm advice, don't use minus. Change it to plus a negative. Or, if we're able to, change it to plus a positive. Because in D, if I start with 3, gravity works, everybody good? If you lift your knees, the shelf falls. Yeah, don't do that. It's at leave it, we'll fix it after class. Nikki, are you okay? Aside from being scared to death.
Gravity works.
Well, I have to say that first and then make sure everyone's okay. No, so really the thing is I watched, like, as soon as it started happening, I saw what happened and I saw that nobody got hit. So that's why I said gravity works before I checked on if you were okay. Now, if you were sitting like a foot further back, I would have been more concerned. All right. If Cody will allow us to move on, if we start with -3, right? This is also why I got the reckon rods out. It's easier for me to show like to you guys. Can I take away Can I, eyes up here, please? Can I take away negatives from this? Not right now. But if I got a lot of side chatter, if I grab a 0. Right? Just some amount of equal positive negatives. Now can I take away negatives? Yes. And if I take away negative 4, I really gain 4. So this is really 3 plus 4, which is 7. No, not negative. Positive. Right? To take away the negative. Guys, please make sure you have these written down. I am real scared some of you are just like putzing along through class, and when the mastery happens on Friday, which if we didn't talk about that, we're having a mini mastery on Friday. I know, but my job is being a professional repeater. When you get hired in middle school, they're like, you know you're going to have to repeat yourself, right? You know you're going to have to repeat yourself, right? Get it? What can I do with this end section out here? Yeah, don't stop yourself. You were like, make it minus a negative. Taking away negatives makes the situation better. Now still, who's going to win, good guys or bad guys? The bad guys here, and we get negative 3. If I start with negative 1, if I start with negative 1, can I take away 9 negatives? Now I can take away 1 negative, right? Start across the room, whatever. But if I want to take away 9 negatives, I need to bring in 9 negatives, or at least 9 total. But I'm just going to bring in 9 more negatives. But that also means at the same time, because I can't actually bring in things, I got to bring in 0. Here's 9 zeros that are trying to jump out of my hand. Look, I'm impressed that I've done this well. 9 zeros, negative 1, right? So I have negative 1. I'm going to take away, give me your eyes up here. I'm going to take away 9. This is 0, right? Take away 9 negatives. I really added 9, right? So we're trying to make sure you understand the why. I'm just going to throw everything today. So this becomes negative 1 plus 9. Who wins here? Good guys, by how much?
8.
Questions? Any questions on A through F? Yes.
Pretty much like when you speak and you're like, I ain't not gonna do that, and then 8 means you are going to do that.
Oh yeah, ain't not. Yep. Double negative. So go ahead and sketch this on your paper because we want to look at it in a different form. So we're not using these anymore. Sketch a number line in your paper real fast. So we're not going to use the positive negatives. I'm going to pull this up real quick. The video that I promised you guys.
Oh yeah.
Especially since you just said that whole double negative thing. So we really haven't watched the video about subtraction being a lie. Okay. I believe you. I just can't believe that we've made it this far. Sir.
What are your thoughts on cooties?
Circle, circle, dot, dot. Those are my thoughts.
You're real.
Oh yeah, where's the proof?
The fact that I'm still alive today. My cootie shot worked.
Nick has cooties. He's contagious.
I don't know what HDMI this is. That's probably wrong.
Okay, you're
HDMI 1.
That's not politically correct.
This sentence is correct.
I know the word politics, so big brain politics.
The Matrix and Batman.
I don't have the USB plugged in.
I speak politics.
I speak politics.
Candy Crush.
It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes. You take the blue gift card. The story ends. You're back in elementary school, subtracting lines on a chalkboard. You take the red gift card. And we see how deep this hole can go.
If you've never seen The Matrix, that was a direct
Up until this
reference.
moment, you probably believed subtraction was a fact of life. You believe that if you spent a buck on jujitsu and then paid the clerk $10, you get $9 back. Nope. Subtraction isn't real. 10 minus 1 is the same thing as 10 plus negative 1. Subtracting a signed number is the same thing as adding its opposite, or adding its inverse. Subtraction doesn't exist.
Subtraction doesn't exist.
The matrix has been revealed.
Heads up. For your entire math career, it has been hands off the operation. Well, guess what? Now you can change the operation from subtraction to addition just by changing the sign after the operation. Crazy, right? This is an example of A minus.
Please, on your notes paper, write down A minus B equals, and do it horizontally, please. A minus B equals A plus negative B. And it doesn't matter if B is positive or negative. If we want to say bye-bye subtraction, all we got to do is figure out what's the opposite of the second number. So if we had 5 minus negative 20, that becomes 5 plus 20. The same as if we had 8 minus 4, it's the same as 8 plus negative 4. It doesn't guarantee that you always end up with just positives or just, whatever. It's just saying take the opposite of that second number.
This A plus negative B. This is one of the big moments I remember in math.
Addition and subtraction exist as two sides of the same coin. They're anywhere positive.
My favorite analogy.
Good and bad feelings, national politics, and even right here in Gotham. Gotham was once a good city. There were positive people, like Alfred. Add a positive number, move in the positive direction. But over time, Gotham was corrupted by criminals. Add a negative number, move in a negative direction. But then, Batman came. And he started cleaning up all the criminals.
So we take away bad
negatives
guys.
and adding a positive did the same thing. They both moved it in a positive direction, making Gotham safer. But then, the Joker came and kidnapped Rachel Dawes and Harvey Dent, and turned Harvey Dent into Two-Face. Adding a negative and subtracting a positive both moved Gotham in the negative direction towards chaos. But at the last minute, Batman captured the Joker, saved the hostages, and rounded up the thugs. In case you're wondering, I'm not going to do the front of Dark Knight Rises because that movie was too crazy.
Wait. I'm negative. Subtracting a negative should make things more negative. I bet and we can think of one example that two negatives make a positive.
Really?
Well, I don't not like him.
Chica, that means you like him.
Ooh, double negatives back there. Two negatives makes a positive.
Busted.
Double
Our
negative.
work is done here. Quick, to the Nebuchadnezzar.
Sometimes the matrix forces you to add or subtract long strings of numbers for homework. Even if you understand this concept, it can be really hard to see through the matrix. See if this helps. Draw circles around all the operations and the numbers that
This is why we've been
see
looking
any
at
circles with two
terms.
negative signs, make it a positive. This is one case where two wrongs do make a right. Next, put plus signs in between all of the circles if they aren't there already. Lastly, add them all up.
Now, I disagree with how they go just left to right. I do good guys, bad guys first.
This tip is a beta, so let us know if it's helpful or not.
Alright, so that is our example of how subtraction is alive, but also, since you guys are awesome, we'll let you see this one too. You think I can go faster? Oh, dang it, I stopped just too late. So let's make sure we know what's happening here. Negative 92,500 minus negative 399. Could we technically do that? Sure, like we could take away negatives because we have a lot of negatives, but it's easier. So here they're just comparing. We have 92,500 and 399, and now we have opposite signage, right? We have a negative and a positive, and we're adding. So now this is the step where us in class asked who wins, right? We have a positive and a negative. Who wins? So we find out who wins and by how much. So who wins here, positive or negative? The negative wins here. And that's what they're doing with their E. Alright, it gets a little messy from that point. I think that's, well, we could, there's Darth Vader. But.
Do we do 100
Who's going to subtraction less
No, so this, by the way, if you're curious, I would highly advise that you go subscribe to this channel. They put out really good content that is all directly related to the math that we will be doing this year. It's all pretty much middle level math, like 7th and 8th grade. So yeah, PBS Math Club, if you want to search them up, their channel's pretty good actually.
100 digits of pi.
What? Is that a video or something?
That says 100 digits of pi. It says 100 pi.
But here's what is an integer. What? What? It's what about like it's a video?
Yeah, it's a song. ASAP Science.
Oh, well, of course ASAP Science.
And now, ASAP Science presents 100 digits of pi. This is pi followed by 2653589 circumference over diameter 759 and 323 OMG tangent Z 8462643 and now we're on this.